in color, the continuing story of Peyton Place. Starring Dorothy Malone as Constance Mackenzie, Ed Nelson as Michael Rossi, Ryan O'Neill as Rodney Harrington, Barbara Parkins as Betty Anderson, Tim O'Connor as Elliot Carson, Christopher Connolly as Norman Harrington, Patricia Morrow as Rita Harrington, James Douglas as Stephen Cord.
There are moments in the life of Elliot Carson when he's able to put aside his despair at the loss of his daughter, Allison, and pick up the joy and love that he feels for his new son, Matthew. To Elliot, the birth of this healthy baby can be the beginning of the full, rich life he has wanted for so many years. A few moments alone with Matthew have allowed Elliot to put his life in perspective and to survive.
Oh, hi, Michael.
Hi, Matthew.
Oh, hi.
Oh. Well, I don't suppose I have to ask how the baby and the new mother are getting along, eh?
Fine, just fine, Michael.
Hello, Betty. Taking good care of my godson?
Well, when they give me a chance, just take it easy. She's been wonderful. I don't know what I would have done without her.
Oh, boy. Never a dull moment these days in the Carson household. Yeah.
Oh, Elliot, this is John Fowler.
I'm sorry to bother you, but I'd like to call Mrs. Carson to testify in the Weber hearing tomorrow.
Tomorrow? I thought you said you wouldn't need her until the end of the week.
Well, I've had to do a little rescheduling. If she could possibly make it, I'd certainly appreciate it.
Well, hold on a minute, John. Connie, it's John Fowler. He wants you to testify tomorrow. You feel up to it? What do you think, Mike?
Well, if she's strong enough, I see no reason why not.
That's fine. As a matter of fact, I'd like to get it over with.
John? Okay, she'll be there tomorrow.
Thanks. Well, before I check his nibs, would you mind if I had a word with the new father?
I think the new father would love it. Do you know he's taken 3 ounces already?
Oh, that's great. Want me to take him?
No, that'll be all right. I'll do it.
Oh, don't worry about Matthew. I'll be here bright and early.
Oh, thank you, Betty.
I know it won't be too pleasant for you appearing in court, but at least I'll have that little guy all to myself.
This little guy has more young girls interested in him.
Oh, I know the spot that puts you in, having both Rita and me wanting to take care of him, but I feel that I kind of have, squatter's rights, if that doesn't sound too silly.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's marvelous, darling. You burped right when you cared.
You know, you're a very economical person to go on a vacation with. Did you know that? Hmm?
I'm sorry, Norm.
Oh, don't be sorry. You saved us a fortune. Like $75 for the charcoal we didn't even use. Not bad at all. $250 for the fishing rods. Not bad on that either. $2 for canned food. Thank you. And $175 for the boat. That's only for 1 hour. We only used it for half an hour.
I tried, honest I did. I just didn't know a boat rolled like that.
Hmm. Did anybody ever tell you that you are terrible to be married to?
Don't joke. I feel awful.
You really don't feel good, do you? You know why? Because you had an empty stomach. So you know what I'll do? I'll take you home, I'll put you down, I'll make you all comfortable, and then I'll cook something for you. Rita, I gotta learn sometime. Okay, come on. Let's get the car. You know what I'll do? I'll cook you something very, very mild for your stomach. Like, chili?
Oh.
Come on, let's go over to the garage and see if the car's ready yet.
Fine, Mike. You look like you're running on your reserve tank.
No, it's just one of those days, I guess.
Well, buy you a cup of coffee?
I'll take it.
Dr. Rossi, there's a woman waiting to see you.
Oh, well, Miss Choate.
She's been waiting a long time.
All right. Sorry. Hello?
Dr. Rossi,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm here about Rachel.
Please sit down. So you've come about Rachel, have you?
Yes, I'm Mrs. Burroughs.
Hello, Mrs. Burroughs. I'm Dr. Rossi.
I know who you are, Doctor.
Well, you certainly took your time in getting here. Are you the girl's mother?
No, I'm no relation. My husband and I have the next farm over where Rachel's been living.
Well, where are her parents?
Dead.
Well, who took care of her? I mean, no one has shown up here at the hospital at all.
She's been living with her mother's sister, Lucy Chandler. Lucy died a little over a week ago.
Oh, I see. Well, are there some other relatives?
All you need to know, Doctor, is a man will show up. A man named Chandler. Jack Chandler. Don't turn Rachel over to him. He's not a fit guardian for her. Well, he's godless. That's all I came to say.
Well, now, wait a minute, Mrs. Burroughs. You can't come in here with a story like that and just dump it in my lap and not give me any explanation.
I can't.
Mrs. Burroughs, please. You have to.
I shouldn't be here, Doctor.
Mrs. Burroughs, tell me something about her parents.
Well, there were these two sisters, Georgine, that's Rachel's mother, and Lucy. Georgine didn't like farm life. She married a man named Wells, and after Rachel was born, I understand they traveled a lot from place to place, town to town. One day, the house they were living in caught fire. The child was at school. She never saw her parents again.
Oh, now, wait, Mrs. Burroughs. If it isn't right for Rachel to go back to her uncle, you're going to have to tell me a lot more so that I can help prevent it.
My husband doesn't hold with my being here, Doctor. We're not meddlers.
Mrs. Burroughs, please don't feel that you're gossiping. I know you're not. It's simply for Rachel's welfare, isn't it? Now, please, sit down. Please. Tell me something about her home life.
Well, it was Lucy's farm in the first place. It's always been in her family. And then this Chandler came along and married her. Things changed. Chandler keeps to himself. He never has a kind word for anyone. When Lucy first met him, she was a healthy girl. And then after they were married, she seemed to be just listless and sick all the time. He never let her go anywhere. Nor Rachel either.
Well, she went to school, huh?
No. He said he and Lucy could teach her all she needed to know at home. From time to time, Rachel would sneak away and come over to our place. She was very fond of our grandchildren, and they loved her. Sometimes when she came over, we noticed she had bad bruises.
Bruises?
On her arms and legs. I asked her about them. She wouldn't say much, but I knew she'd been punished, beaten. Lucy would never do that. It was Chandler that did it.
Well, why didn't you report this?
It wasn't my place.
Your place? Well, I mean, it was obvious the girl was being mistreated.
I've got to get back now, Doctor.
Mrs. Burroughs, listen, wait. You're afraid of this man, Chandler, aren't you? I mean, you're afraid because he may take some revenge on you and your husband because of what you said here.
Yes, Doctor. I am afraid for my husband. You see, he isn't young any longer. Chandler would hold him responsible. We don't have much, Doctor, but I want Rachel to have this. Tell her Mrs. Burroughs hasn't forgotten her. Good day, Doctor.
Hey, can you tell me where I can find Rita Harrington?
No, but down at the wharf, her...
And nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated.
Mrs. Carson, according to the testimony given by Chris Webber, you witnessed an incident that took place between him and the defendant, Lee Webber, in front of your bookstore. Is that correct?
Yes.
Could you please tell the court what you saw?
And I saw Chris Webber trying to get away from Lee. Lee kept grabbing his arm.
Go on, Mrs. Carson.
Well, I was concerned because I was worried about Chris, and so I watched. And they stopped at the curb, and then all of a sudden, Chris stepped off the curb right into the path of an oncoming car. If the car hadn't stopped as quickly as it did, he might have been hit.
And did the defendant do anything to prevent his brother from being hit by the car?
No, he just stood there.
Aren't you going to object?
Why? It's true, isn't it? Do you think that he had time to do something to prevent his brother from being hit by the car?
Objection. How can the witness possibly speculate on what she might have done were she the defendant?
Objection sustained.
Mrs. Carson, if you had been standing on the curb next to Chris Webber, could you have done something to warn him?
Yes, I think so.
What happened then?
Well, Chris went into Stephen Cord's building, and Lee followed him and stayed outside the building.
And what did you do, Mrs. Carson?
Well, I was very concerned about Chris, so I told Norman Harrington what happened, and he agreed to try to get Chris away from Lee.
And did he?
Yes.
Mrs. Carson, you're a businesswoman, and at the time that this happened, you were pregnant. Yet you watched them go down the street. You say you were so worried about Chris that you actually involved someone else in helping you to protect him. Now, please excuse my asking this, Mrs. Carson, but did you have a legitimate reason for being worried about Chris Webber, or was it simply that you had nothing better to do that morning?
Well, about a week before this happened, we had Chris over to dinner, and I saw how frightened he became when he heard that his brother Lee was roaming around the town drunk and violent. Chris was very much afraid of his brother, and I saw that he feared that his brother would also harm Ann Howard. In fact, later that night, he had me call Ann and warn her that Lee might be looking for her. I had good reasons to be concerned and worried about what Lee Webber might do.
Thank you, Mrs. Carson. No further questions, Your Honor.
Does counsel for the defense wish to question the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. I'll only keep you a moment, Mrs. Carson. Have you ever spoken directly to the defendant? Now take your time, it's important.
No, I don't recall ever having spoken to Lee Webber.
When you observed Lee and Chris Webber, as you just described to the court, did you actually hear anything that was said between them?
No.
Well, then, as far as we know, as far as you know, Mrs. Carson, Lee could have been trying to get Chris to go to the dentist or to go home and make his bed. And as Chris stepped off the curb, Lee could have told him that a car was coming without your hearing it. Isn't that possible, Mrs. Carson?
Objection, Your Honor. We already have the sworn testimony of Chris Webber establishing what was said.
Objection sustained.
The sworn testimony of Chris Webber. When Chris Webber appeared to be frightened because his brother was drunk and violent, did you actually see Lee Webber drunk and violent?
No.
So your knowledge of Lee Webber at that instance was based upon what Chris Webber told you?
Yes, that's right.
So in effect, you warned Ann Howard that Lee Webber might harm her because you had no reason to doubt what Chris Webber told you. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Thank you, Mrs. Carson. No further questions, Your Honor.
Court is adjourned until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning.